Okay, it is 8:31, and good morning and good day to all of my fellow ICPA members. My name is Sarah Bowersox. I am currently on the board of ICPA, and I am what I like to call an OG member. I was at the very first conference many, many years ago and have been involved with the organization in various capacities, including speaker, conference volunteer. This is my second stint as a board member. It's really one of my favorite resources within the trade and compliance industry. And today we are going to be learning from some experts from KYG Trade, talking about AI-assisted work in our field, something we are all, eager to start using and learn more about. So just as a point of housekeeping, I will be watching for questions in the chat. If possible, if we can integrate those into the flow of the presentation, we will. But we're going to save the more detailed ones for the end of the presentation. And I also want to reassure you that all of the questions that appear in the chat will be shared with KYG afterwards. So if we can't cover them here, they will be able to respond to you directly after the fact. So without further ado, I am going to hand the controls over to Todd to get started on KYG's presentation.
Thank you, Sarah. It's very nice to be here with my team to talk about AI and trade compliance. My name, as you heard, is Todd Smith, and I am a licensed customs broker, and I'm a former Big Four partner in the trade and customs practice from KPMG and EY. And our AI-assisted compliance software is purpose-built for you. I just want to start off by saying that. We got some people from our team today that are going to show you what I like to refer to as some AI trade compliance magic. We're going to talk a little bit about AI generally and how it does relate to trade compliance. We're going to show you some actual tools that are available now to streamline compliance tasks. This technology is affordable, and just a little discussion on AI and reasonable care. Now, with regard to generative AI or using generative AI for trade compliance, it is now possible to integrate a foundational model like GPT-4o to help us with compliance tasks. If the content and information that's being used to generate AI responses is really focused on trade compliance, and it actually is possible now to focus AI foundational models, and again, GPT-4o is just one of them, to really help us and actually result in what I refer to as less AI type hallucinations. When I'm in meetings and I'm talking about trade compliance and AI, I often get asked the question, well, Todd, why not then just go to Chat GPT-4 and have GPT-4, answer the questions for us? And what I'm showing on this slide is an example of why you don't want to do it. You don't want to just go to GPT-4 or any of these other models and start pretending to believe and rely on the fact that you're getting solid information. This is a prompt. What is the HS code for women's joggers?
No way.
Yeah. And I'm not, somebody wasn't on mute, but I heard a reaction. But what you see here is a very confident response. The HS code is the correct code. I mean, and when I first read it, I was like, wow, but clearly, this isn't right. So, that's just sort of food for thought and a word from the wise. You don't want to just rely on GPT-4 to do your job. So what is let's talk about like the current state. Like today, this is just an example, I'm throwing out, and we're going to go through many examples during the webinar. But, today, if your container is detained at the port for forced labor, you have 30 days to respond to a detention notice. And today, with the tools that we have, unless you are really on top of things and you're gathering documentation to support and rebut the presumption with a detention response within 30 days, it's going to take longer than 30 days. This is a long process where you really got to spend time gathering documents, hopefully talking to experts to help put together the response. And it could take weeks or months, the old-fashioned way, which is with the tools we have available. But I am here to say, and we're going to show you ways that we can really speed up this process, not only for forced labor detention responses, but helping to qualify goods for free trade agreements, determine export controls, in addition to HS codes, which we're all hearing a lot about. We're not at a point where we are able to say that we are handing AI over and creating an autonomous broker. We're not there yet. I certainly, as the CEO, licensed broker for this company, I will not, stand up and say, leave it to the AI and let it do the job. So we're still very much advocating that there be a human in the loop. And that is, why we titled the webinar today, AI with Human in the Loop. But we do believe that this is going to speed up a lot of the trade compliance that you're working on day in and day out, and give you more time for higher level complex issues. So from my standpoint, in order for AI to really benefit you, we need to start with what I refer to as the product genome. And so what is that? So the product genome is a set of product attribute data, whether it's raw material, an intermediate good, or a finished product. This is information that we all know is never in one place. It includes things like the bill of materials, product spec sheets, material safety data sheets, user manuals, specifications, drawings, pictures. Never is it in one place. It's always different data formats in different locations, both within and outside your organization. But the compilation, the munging of all of this structured and unstructured data from public and private sources into a data model that is unique for your particular product is what I refer to as a product genome. And once we have that genome in place, we can then do some really cool things, as you can see here, like, again, forced labor determinations or risk compliance, export controls, etc. But it all starts, with that product genome data. And it's hard to describe how, we are using AI to help in trade compliance without talking a little bit about the product, that enables you to do this. So we're trying to have a discussion that is less abstract and more like, here are some actual examples without, showing you how it could be done using technology. It happens to be our technology. I'm trying not to have a commercial or, really sell hard. But again, once you have that product genome data, you can research, you can figure out classification, origin, you can use it to help with shipments and transactions, and you can integrate these capabilities inside your enterprise through API. And as you'll see as we go through the presentation, you can do this using your favorite tools and software within a single window. So like the approach that we've taken to deploy AI within trade compliance is enabling you to use the software that you think is best for your particular fact pattern. Doesn't have to be tools that are created by any one vendor like KYG. It could be tools, as you can see here, from other vendors that are all pulled into a single window with a layer of AI assistance orchestrating throughout the global trade management experience. And that's the capability that we're going to show you essentially today. In addition to using your own tools, we can use the same technology to monitor HS codes, as you can see, export controls, free trade agreement rules of origin changes that may be happening, even anti-dumping. We can monitor and alert, and we can use the AI to automate and help you with a lot of this real-time monitoring, which of course leads into better exercising of reasonable care. So with that as a backdrop in terms of AI and where we are with trade compliance, we're gonna now see some what I like to refer to again as AI trade compliance magic. We're gonna have Marin, Lee, Sabrina, and Peyton, who I showed on the earlier slide, that are with you today. They're going to show you how you can use AI to assist with trade research, HS classification, export classification, free trade agreement qualification, and even supplier solicitation, and of course, forced labor compliance. So Marin and Lee, the stage is yours.
Before that, though, we do have one question.
Already?
Which is kind of general, so I'm going to have you go ahead and hop in and deal with it. The question is, how is company proprietary information protected if this uses public data? Does proprietary information stay stored in a private cloud, or does it become part of the public cloud?
Private cloud, yeah. I mean, there are different ways to deploy AI and use AI within your organization. Our approach is we are not using your data to train models for other people to use. It is first and foremost private cloud, and it could be our private cloud or it could be your private cloud, but the capabilities that we're going to show you will work regardless, and we could talk more about that. I should say that in the, I'm not sure where it is, Sarah, but there is a copy of our deck that the users can download, and on the very last page there is a link to schedule a meeting with us. And so that's a very good question, and we could dive deeper, into how we do that through a private meeting.
Yeah, there will be a follow-up afterwards to everybody, and they will receive the materials, and then they'll also have the ability to rewatch this for 60 days.
Yeah.
Okay, my name's Lee Schmid. As Todd mentioned, I've been doing trade compliance work for over 40 years, and I started up in Canada. I was also with KPMG at one point, and then the last 25 years I've been with L Brands, Limited Brands, The Limited, whatever you'd like to call it, and then it morphed into Victoria's Secret in the last couple of years. So in 2008, we actually built a proprietary. We thought we had a really great automated classification system, but this stuff is unbelievably much better. It's like a much higher plane. So it really helps to have consistency and accuracy when you use the system. And Todd asked me to try to break the system, his system, with throwing examples in there that might be complex and so on. And I have to say, so far, I haven't been able to stump the system. So today we're going to show you an example using Trade Corpus and the AI agent to do a quick classification. In the interest of time, we picked the sweater that was on the slide previous. It's 100% cashmere sweater. So the first thing we have to do is to just give the system some basic information about what we want to classify. So here we see Marin has entered the women's sweater made of 100% cashmere, and we'll see what pops up here. Okay, so these are rulings. Now you may say, well, you know, I could do that with cross, for example, just put in some keywords and I'll get a list of rulings like this. The difference is that this system uses a semantic search and it understands synonyms, for example. So if you were looking for something like cat food and you like alliteration, you might want to say feline feed, and it would still understand that feline feed is cat food and still bring you up all the rulings. And you may notice on here on these short subject descriptions that are on the page here that some of them don't even mention sweater. They figured out that we're looking for something that may be described differently here, like a woman's garment. So Martin, if you can open one just to show what the ruling looks like underneath. So you see it's a complete ruling. This is exactly what you would see in cross if you put in the right keywords to find this ruling. And what we're going to do now is just what you could do is open them all up individually and read them, take notes like we used to in the old days, and take hours, or we can have the AI help us. So we'll just select ones that look like they will pertain to our garment. And what we're going to do now is having selected these, we put them on a bookshelf. And as Todd mentioned, that's what the AI is using to learn from. It's not going out to the full internet and get confused and make hallucinations. It's learning from actual rulings that you selected. So it's very narrow. So now that we've got that in, we can start to converse with Kay. And we can use just regular English language. So here comes Kay. So we've asked it to summarize each ruling and highlight the differences. So Kay is working on that question using those rulings that we highlighted on the last screen. She was faster yesterday.
Maybe she didn't have a good breakfast.
She was faster yesterday. Maren, do you want to show the rulings in the bookshelf?
Sure. Rulings here, we're able to also open them in cross as well. So open a new tab takes you to cross that same ruling to show that the data we're using is all correct here, and there's the response.
There we go. So now we have a response where she has summarized the rulings into a nice, neat little paragraph. She's given us some sources that she used of the ones that we selected, but we still don't have a classification yet. So we want to continue our conversation, and we want to move on and say, tell us the specific information we need to classify a woman's sweater of 100% cashmere. And we want it to be provided in a bullet list. So Maren, can we get all that into Kay there? There we go. And here's the response pretty quickly. So look, we need to have the percentage, but we already told her it's 100%. But we also need a stitch count. So now I don't think AI is quite there yet where we can take a picture of the fabric and send it in, but I'm sure it's going to get there. But so what you'd have to do is get your little scope out that we use in textile and apparel classification and count the stitches, and then we can tell her that it's the classification of 100% cashmere with a stitch count of 6 stitches per 2 centimeters in the horizontal direction. If we give her that much information, we're really going to narrow it down here.
And so again, just while this is happening, what is happening is, again, the only information that is coming back in this response is from the information that Kay is getting out of those 6 rulings in the bookshelf. It's not going out to ChatGPT to get these answers.
So here you can see that by giving her the extra information about the stitch count, it's now giving us the correct classification, and it's telling us a good ruling that we can open up and read ourselves to make sure that this garment matches what the ruling is saying. So that took a few minutes. In the old days, that may have taken an hour or two to do that simple classification. So this is a huge time saver.
Could you do a quick sum up? We have a question that says asking about the source of the data and the underlying model being used. It looks like John is addressing it in the chat as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if Mark, can you click on the detail search so you could see the categories of the rulings? This database is the cross rulings database. That is what the AI, which is utilizing the natural language capabilities, in this case of ChatGPT 4.0, but only on the rulings, not the internet.
And there's a follow-up question. Does it know if a ruling is revoked or modified?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And moreover, we've trained it to, if it's relying on a ruling that refers to an HS code that no longer exists, we've trained it to look up the most current HS code.
And also explanatory notes is
okay. So right here in this search capability, we only have the U.S. rulings for the United States. We're going to be adding not only the explanatory notes, we're going to be adding BTIs. In our actual chat HTS HS classification tool, we do take into account chapter notes, section notes, and the WCO explanatory notes, which we'll show you in a minute. But for this research right here, right now, right here, you're only seeing it for U.S. rulings.
There was also a question about application for other countries.
BTIs would cover other countries. If there are rulings in Canada, maybe Lee, since Lee is the former licensed customs broker and the GOAT for Canada and trade compliance.
Well,
maybe he can help with the rulings from Canada too.
They don't.
Yeah, they don't have the same. They're private letter rulings up there, so that it's not as easy to access. So you sort of rely on the they call it the CITT, which is the Canadian International Trade Tribunal. Those are public. So,
but we license content from Descartes, and to the extent that content, like even scope determination, for anti-dumping rulings, are going to be included, and we're also going to include CIT cases.
And also a question, U.S. court cases.
Yeah, CIT court cases. We will be adding those soon. All right.
All right, I'll turn it over to Maren to continue.
There's also a question about receiving data, but I think you're going to cover that later. So, Catherine, I'm going to leave your question. And then if we don't cover it, if you wouldn't mind reposting it at the end, that would be great.
All right, so we're going to switch over to Chat KYG, which is our more product specific kind of in-depth search tool. So you see I have a set of product attributes here I can input versus just a singular input. That was our trade corpus. That was more of just like a straight search. And so if I have these to fill, what I can do with our extension tool here, if I activate it, I can, page real quick, activate it. I can actually go to a product page. I can highlight the information on that page, and I could do a variety of actions. So right now we're going to send this highlighted text to Chat KYG to fill in those product attributes, but we're building out additional functionality which you could fire off straight from a product page. So determining the HS code, landed duty costs, validating country of origin, forced labor risk, ESG scores, and a variety of other actions directly from the web browser. So if I jump back to Chat KYG, now my product attributes have been populated. And go into our chats. So these are our trade prompts. They're different compliance chats that we built out. And we'll start off with product facts. And this just kicks back basically all the product info that Kay knows about your product, which we've shared with her. Next, we'll go to chat trade. So chat trade is very similar to trade corpus in that it takes your product attributes and does a search and selects the first 10 most relevant rulings according to K. And in the same way we did chat and trade corpus, we can do the same here. So I'll summarize the rulings in my bookshelf and analyze their key differences. So here we go. I got a summary of all the rulings and some of their key differences. I can again ask what specific information about a woman's sweater do I need to know? And again, it gives me the stitch count as an important attribute of the sweater. And then lastly, I can say, what is the HS code for my product and why? And it comes back with 60, 10, 12, 10, 20, which came from this ruling that Kay found me.
Maren, sorry to interrupt the flow. I just want to highlight for everybody attending who's pure trade compliance. We're not losing our jobs because of K. Moreover, look at this. I mean, this is a training tool. This is going to help you learn what are the nuances that customs identified in these rulings specific to a particular product, like a woman's cashmere double knit sweater, so that you understand what are the nuances that you need to know in order to figure out the right HS code. And it's learning that not from the internet, not from anything that KYG trained it on, but from the 10 rulings that relate most specifically to classifying women's cashmere double knit sweaters. All right. I mean, that's a game changer that's going to help you and your team learn and be trained and have that sort of tribal knowledge much faster. So I just wanted to highlight that, and that's unique from being able to just do keyword searches in a tool like Cross or other ruling search tools.
Mm-hmm. And I'll stick here for a second just to say that as we showed on the other page, you're able to do additional searches. So if you want to change your search term a little bit or filter out to certain types of rulings, you could do so as well. You can continue to modify your bookshelf till you find the right set of rulings that you think are most pertinent to conduct your chat with. And last, we'll jump to the summary tab.
Oh, sorry, there's a question about the difference between chat trade and chat HTS.
There's not really a huge difference in terms of functionality. The difference is that with this prompt that we have here, or this on chat KYG, you have the entire set of product attributes which are shared with K, including the item URL from the web page, and you can go find that web page and find more information about it. So we pulled in all this information where on Trade Corpus, it's just kind of a singular search term. It's more just like a broad search to go looking for different rulings currently.
And there's also a question about the difference from using the tariff directly. Much of the breakdowns are laid out. Like you're not getting the visibility of like section and heading.
So I'll get to that right now, actually.
Okay, great. Sorry.
So once you get to once you've gotten kind of your final classification, you can go to the summary tab, and this basically looks at your previous chats and generates a summary for you based on your research. So in this summary output template can be modified to whatever you'd like, however you'd like to present the information you found. So with this simple summary analysis, it gives a quick introduction about what this research section was about. It restates your product facts, providing you, the URL that you use to populate this information. It gives you the HS code that you've given, along with the rationale as to why this HS code is it. I'm able to click on this and open it a new link, and it'll take me right to the HTS site. And I can see here, sweaters of cashmere, wholly of cashmere, 20, which is women's and girls, which is the correct classification for this product here. Finishes off with talking about the trade compliance rulings, which were referenced in the research, and gives you a conclusion, again, with that HS code. All right. And I'm going to hand it off next to Sabrina to talk about our core platform and how you do similar import classifications.
Sounds good. I'm going to steal the screen. All right, can we see my screen okay?
Yes.
All right, hello everyone, I'm Sabrina. I'm a sales engineer and account executive here at KYG Trade. And so what we just saw from Marin was more of a research tool where you can research the rulings. And now I'm going to show you our core platform where your products can live. You can have, different attestations on the product. So over here, you can see our product attributes. So this is that same cashmere sweater. We have about 200 attributes built into the system that you can choose from. It's very customizable. And then over here, you have your attestation. So that's going to be a free trade agreement, an import classification, an export classification, and more stuff on our roadmap. But I'm going to click into this import classification here, and I'm showing you how to do it on an individual product level. We also have a bulk classification tool that I will show you in a bit. But as Todd mentioned, we're a very open platform. So you can use other tools on our platform. So you can see Avalara, Zonos. I did the classification here with Avalara. But I'm going to show you ChatHTS in this case, which is our tool. And it's a little more AI based. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see that better. So I ran a classification on this product. What it did was it took all this information over here. If there is an item number and a brand name, it can actually go out to the internet and collect more information and do this classification. It's never going out to the internet for any of the rulings or the regulations or anything like that. All of the tariff schedule, the explanatory notes, chapter notes, section notes is all built on the back end, and it will pull all of that into this analysis. So this is a fully AI generated analysis you're seeing right here. And based on the information the AI was able to gather, it came up with this code. It talks about a ruling and any other information it found. And so the user can either say yes here, this is correct, I'm good with this classification, or if it doesn't look correct, they can type in no. And in the case that they type in no, the AI is going to then take them down a list of questions to try to get to the right place. So it's going to, figure out, is this actually a sweater? Or is it another type of garment? Is it fully 100% cashmere? Is the stitch count this? So it will take you down those lists of questions to get to the right place.
Sabrina, there's also have our questions about HTS incorporating WCO notes, and then also recognizing OGA flags, anti-dumping, CVD, that type of stuff.
Yeah, so this tool that you are seeing does in fact consider the WCO explanatory notes in its classification. And so that is a yes. And what was the second part of the question?
Recognizing OGA flags.
And yeah, so yes, and we will be displaying OGA flags, and we will help you determine, like, if the flag says may be required, we will have information, and our AI assistants will help you figure out if in fact it applies or not. We will also be enabling anti-dumping and countervailing duty flags. We will also be enabling, for 301, 232 exclusions, the ability to do research in whether or not your product falls into one of those exclusions or not.
Excellent. Thank you.
So,
questions.
Awesome. So we also have our collaboration tool where you can ask questions to, someone on your team. If you need to ask, in this case, I asked, what is the stitch count? They can come in here and reply, and it will live on this product. You can also send out emails directly from here. And you can see 3 emails were sent out. Again, they'll live on this product. If anyone replies with any information or any supporting files, again, you'll have the audit trail on the product, and it will also automatically upload any of those to the supporting files. And then we also have our bulk classification tool, which we call Trade Sheet. So I'm going to hop over to this trade sheet right here. And as you can see, there's various products in this trade sheet. This can be a lot more than just 5 products that are shown here. But you can still choose your Oracle, so you can use Chat HTS or Avalara. There is a workflow stages, so you can see if it's like in the conductor phase of someone doing the classification versus completed. And then what the AI is going to do is just like we saw, you'll kick off all these questions, and you can kick them off at the same time with the arrow at the top. And the AI is going to generate its answer here. In the case of Avalara, it might ask some questions. And the user will answer here, or answer right here. And you can still see that AI output in the trade sheet. And you can go down the list, and answer whether or not these are correct, go through each one, and do them all at once. You can also click into any of these on the individual level still and see it, just like we saw for the cashmere sweater on that individual level. You can click into it and do the classification here as well if you want to do it that way.
We have a couple of sort of general questions. One is about Kay using the latest and greatest info. The questioner said that the duty rate, the 4.7% rate, was taken from a relevant but dated ruling when it should be 4%. So
yeah, good one. Thank you.
And then also asking about parts. So handling parts of, e.g., example is a heater element for an oven or an unfinished aircraft frame part. Yeah,
it should take into account the parts provision because it does consider chapter, section, and WCO explanatory notes. As I said earlier, when it is relying on rulings, the way we've designed the system to work is if it's a ruling that is referencing an HS code that is no longer valid, it is looking up and seeing if it will map to the most current HS code with the current duty rate. So that discrepancy that you mentioned earlier will be something that I will look into.
There's also a question about certainty. Does the tool provide any grading as to the certainty of the AI conclusion?
This has come up a few times. We do have a sort of a confidence score that we do not display. We again are not trying to position the tool as an quote autonomous broker. The human in the loop at the end of the day does need to review and finalize and accept the output. But clients have been asking us to show a confidence level. So we will be not only including that maybe by the end of the year, but we'll also be able to allow our customers to configure an autocomplete based on that confidence level. So like if Sarah says, look, if K, I'm comfortable with K for, shoes, because Sarah knows something about that. And based on K's performance, if the confidence level is 98%, then I want it to autocomplete without human in the loop. So that'll be a configuration that Keen can set. But so that's what's coming.
And there's also a question about use for ECCN and ITAR classification.
Yep, we're going to show you that shortly.
Awesome. Okay, we'll get there.
Yeah, so that was a great segue. So I just showed again how to do an HS classification. Now I'm going to hand it off to Peyton to show how AI can help you out with export classifications.
That was a good lead in.
Yeah, it's like our attendees are just, leading the charge. It's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sabrina. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
So navigating back to Chat KYG for research for export, I have my product facts here, which Maren showed earlier, that can be pulled in via API extension or manually. And now I'll be going to our Chat ECN tool where I've asked our AI assistant Kay a couple questions. The first one being if she can summarize potential ECCNs based on my product, which she did here and explained her reasoning as well. I then asked if she could explain the order review process, which she also did here and cited the CFR. And then now I'm going to ask her, what is the ECCN for my product for military? And I'm letting her know that it's only being incorporated into military aircraft and subject to the USML. And so here she's got this classification that she came up with. And so I can use this, I can continue having a conversation with her to get more information, as this is our research tool. She can generate a summary, which Maren showed earlier as well. And now navigating to our main platform, we have our product attributes on the left here, and we have a couple different ways to classify goods for export. The first one being our decision tree, which we have one pre-built, but can be customized if your team has a pre-existing decision tree. And as you can see here, it's powered by AI. And what that means is if I go into the decision tree, I can hit this button here where Ask Kay will go through each of the questions, provide an answer and logic for why she answered questions the way she did. I can track the questions and how Kay answered each question here. And Kay will go through and answer all the questions automatically until she encounters a time where she would like the human to confirm, or if she doesn't have enough information, she won't assume an answer to a question. So
Susan, I'm going to interrupt you because there's a couple of really great questions. The first one is regarding data provided for ECCN and ITAR, where is it stored? As in, where are the servers located?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if the question is, I think the question, I guess that was from Andrew, and maybe you can clarify. If you're referring to your product attributes, those product attributes that you see on the left, that information, as I said earlier in the webcast, can either be stored in our private cloud, which is either AWS or Azure, Microsoft Azure, or your private cloud. And your data is your data. We are not using your data to train the model for anybody else to use. And again, we could talk more about this in a one-on-one call, anytime after the webinar.
And there was also a question about, are there specific keywords you need to use when asking questions? For example, subject to USML.
Yeah, no, that's so. The AI is only as smart as like the smartest human, and so the better description, the more robust the product attributes and access to that product genome information, right, that I was describing earlier, the more rich content we have on your product, which we can get from your PLM system like Windchill, we can get it from your material master, we can get it from PDFs, drawings, Excel sheets. It can come from lots of different ways and places. We can even go out to the internet to find information about your products. The more information we have, the higher the confidence and the better the likelihood that we're going to get to an accurate classification, just like a human. So if the human doesn't have good information, the outcome's not going to be good, no matter how smart that human is.
Yeah, and Andrew had a qualifying point up here that yes, his question was in regards to product attributes provided, but his question was about access to the data in terms of like non-Wassenaar nationals.
Non-what?
Wassenaar. I say Wassenaar, but that's because I grew up.
Yeah, we can. we have what Peyton is showing you is in the AI in the research is all trained on the USML, the CCL, and CCATs specifically. Again, we're not going out to the internet for HS or no export authority. we have our own knowledge base, and we are incorporating Wassenaar in other countries' export schedules. So we are able to classify for export purposes globally.
And then again, is the back and forth encrypted end to end? Do humans at KYG have access to the product attributes at any time?
Your data is your data, and the only way we could get access to it is if you gave us permission. And anybody else for that matter. So you could give your suppliers permission. You could give, you know, the Department of State permission. It's all your data, and you have the ability to give permission for other people to look at this data, not us.
And Michael is asking if the server administrators are U.S. persons.
The server administrators are U.S. persons.
Excellent. This is great. I love these export questions because I certainly would not come up with them. So
yeah, and our just so everybody knows, our first enterprise customer is it is an export related project. It's a company that you know is having a complete review of all their jurisdiction in classification in the electronics industry. It just happens to be so we're doing order review, ITAR, EAR, and now we're rolling out to other countries specifically for export classification.
Excellent.
All right, Peyton, sorry about that.
Yeah,
Right.
little segue there, sidetrack, but keep going.
Just to wrap up the decision tree here, it does, as Todd mentioned, goes through the order of review of the USML and CCL. So that's our decision tree. And then going to our second tool on the main platform is Chat ECN. And similar to Chat HTS, it's a little bit more AI based. So based on the product data available to Kay, she will come up with a classification. Here she came up with the USML category 8H3 and again explained her reasoning behind why she came up with this classification, where I can respond in this answer box similar to Chat HTS, yes or no, and go through further questions. And I can reply in either a yes or a no, a number sequence options, or in a natural language way, all of which Kay will understand and reply to. And so that wraps up our export capabilities. I will now pass it back to Sabrina, who will show how we're using AI to qualify goods for free trade agreements.
Real quick, before Sabrina takes over, we have a decision tree for the entire USML and CCL out of the box. If you want to use your own decision tree, it's very easy to create within the UI. And what is so cool is that Kay will read your question in your decision tree and then look at the product attributes and try to answer the questions from your decision tree. So this is really going to help you speed up the process of getting through those decision trees. All right. Good job, Peyton. Sabrina?
Well, there's a question that says, from Lizette, who says she's confused. Wasn't the prior classification under ECCN 600 series and now is on the USML?
Yeah, the difference was automatic rotor folding blade, I believe. That maybe wasn't shown in the first one. So I don't think it had the same exact attributes.
Oh, okay. So slight
difference
in attributes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm now going to show how to do a free trade agreement in our platform. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Perfect. So a lot of AI is used in this case to do the free trade agreement. And the first thing you're going to need in order to do a free trade agreement analysis is a bill of materials. So if the user doesn't have the bill of materials or needs to reach out to a supplier, we've actually built in this Ask Supplier button. And all the user has to do is click that button. And if the supplier's email is already in the system, our AI can actually generate an email. So this is fully AI generated, an email requesting a bill of materials, so that can be sent out. So that's one use of the AI there. And then once you do receive the bill of materials, you can add it as a supporting file into our platform. So you can see this cashmere sweater bill of materials here. And our AI can actually ingest that and populate the bill of materials within the platform. So it pulled all of this information in, it pulled out the suppliers, the price per unit, currency, and country of origin. So all that rich data that is needed to do a free trade agreement analysis. And once this is in the system, our AI can go ahead and do an analysis. So you can see here, go to this cat ID. So you can see here, it figured out exactly what the product was. And based on that, it decided that the qualification was based on regional value content and that the regional value content needed to be 35%. It did the calculation and found that it was 71%. So in this case, it did qualify for the free trade agreement. And you can see up here, it says qualified. And our AI is also really good at identifying any missing information. In that bill of materials, it's not going to assume anything. So if there was a country of origin missing or something like that, the AI would ask the user to input that information. In this case, it asked for purchase order as well as shipping documents. Purchase order so that,
because I have never seen a fully costed bill of materials that was complete the first time around. So
yeah.
And then there's also a question from Michael. It says, how does it handle products with multiple countries of origin?
Okay, so the same SKU with multiple countries of origin, if that's the question, we have the ability to have variants of the same SKU, so we can have a BOM or a different BOM, an as shipped BOM, which would be different for each shipment, for example, attached to the same SKU, but you will see those separately. So this does support same SKU, multiple countries of origin. Moreover, it supports different countries of origin for the same SKU. Like for example, for a SKU, you could qualify for Buy America, which may have a different outcome than a USMCA determination. So you literally can have multiple preference programs for the same country attached to the same SKU.
Yeah, and just to go ahead.
Sorry, there's another question. The rule of origin is tariff shipped only. Could it analyze based on the raw material without the cost information?
Yeah.
It's tariff shipped only.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, and if it is tariff shipped, it will also prompt you to do a trade sheet to figure out all of the HS classifications for each part or material. Yeah, and for any of these, like anything it identifies that is missing, you'll also have that email supplier option to collect that information and speed up that process. So that wraps it up for free trade agreements. I'm going to hand it off to Martin for our last piece, which is utilizing AI for forced labor.
And just real quick, while we're transitioning, the platform out of the box supports all free trade agreements for all products.
Global?
Yep. That's a lot of rules of origin.
Yes, it is.
All right. So we're going to jump back here to our chat KYG with our cashmere sweater. And we're going to take this doc here that is basically a package of documents about the cashmere sweater. So we have a bill of materials, some commercial invoices and purchase orders for the cashmere sweater. And we'll drop those into chat KYG and go through our chat forced labor, chat FL. So what this does is it examines all those documents and finds all your suppliers or counterparties identified in those documents, where they're located, what their role is within the supply chain for that product, and generates, in this case, basically an internal audit of forced labor for a product. So it's generated this very long document stating all the key players, going through each key player and telling you the documents, documentations or exhibits you would need to show evidence of no forced labor, basically. So it goes through all this, writes very long report for you for this internal audit, and also generates, if I scroll to the very bottom here, generates a supply chain graph.
Doing good. Give me 2 seconds. I was on a Zoom call and
So yeah, generates this supply chain graph for you just based on those documents and identifying the key players. So this data about these suppliers is also cross-checked in SIARI, and we can use any tool here to investigate this, like forced labor. And in this case, SIARI came back with hits on certain suppliers. So you can see the black ones have no forced labor risk, orange have some, and then the red, like this Aksu Haufa cotton supplier, has a high forced labor risk. So this would be a quick way to basically do that internal audit within your company. Alternatively, since this is just an AI generated report, you could use this underlying data and create a different type of output. So in this case, this is a response to a detention notice from customs. So again, it's using all that underlying data to draft what could be kind of like an initial report that an associated law firm might write up, for example, and get you a good amount of the way there, basically in seconds. So it's taken all that same information, written a response to a detention notice, giving you the statement of facts, talks about each supplier, and talks about all the exhibits you would have to attach to this to defend a forced labor allegation on a product.
So there is a question about the source of the forced labor data, especially for suppliers in China.
Yeah. So again, as I mentioned earlier, we are a very open and extensible platform that allows you to pick the tool, the content provider, the software that you think is best for your particular fact pattern. And so we're not locking you into our, content, our way of doing things. That's why we showed you that for just classifications, you could use QuickCode, you could use Avalara, or you could use ours. As it relates to the content specifically for forced labor, as Marin just mentioned, what he just showed you was content that comes from SIARI. So SIARI has information on China vendors, just as Kron, just as Descartes, and Measure.io, for example. We have APIs and integrations with all of those companies. The beauty is it's single window. Everything is in one place. You don't have to swivel chair from one system to the next to pull it all together.
So if you have a license with somebody else, if you have a user license, you can just incorporate it into KYG.
Correct.
There were actually a couple questions going back, sort of similar to this. How often are the rules of origin data updated or assessed?
We license our content. Yeah, we license our content from Descartes, and so to the extent that Descartes provides us updates, we think they're one of the best trade content providers in the market. As soon as we get the update from them, it'll be reflected on the platform.
And also a question about mass FTA solicitations to vendors.
Yeah.
You showed the really cool email feature, but could you do that to everybody all at once?
You can use that same capability for certificate of origin solicitation, as well as CT-PAT supplier solicitation for information. It's really going to be a time saver. All right, so I guess wrapping up, we're right there at the top at the hour mark. But yeah, so reasonable care in AI, the tool, no matter which AI tool you're using, if it's classification, if it's forced labor using SIARI, we're going to have an audit trail of every step of the way, who did what the AI came up with, what the human overrode the AI. It's all going to be captured in an immutable audit trail for audit and record keeping purposes. We have the ability, as I showed earlier, to monitor you of changes as changes to the regulations, rules of origin, tariff schedules, what have you, from around the world, from our feed with Descartes and other sources. You're going to get alerts and notifications that you may need to look at and reclassify, for example. And then I guess the last thing I want to say is, in this evolving world of research and doing things faster, smarter, there could be a time where customs could argue that you were not exercising reasonable care because you did not utilize, technology and AI. So I just want to throw that out there. Similar conversations are occurring in the healthcare and in medical malpractice. If a doctor, misdiagnosed, there could be a situation where the lawyers say, well, did you research and use AI to help you with the diagnosis or a treatment plan? And that could work against them if they don't. So thank you, everybody, for attending. This has been a great interactive session. We would love to answer more of your questions one-on-one. You can use the link in the deck. You can email any of us, including Leslie, and set up a one-on-one. And I guess, Sarah, are there any other questions that we have time for?
Few at the end, which Sabrina's already answered one, where someone asked if PDF documents can be scanned or do they need to be OCR? And she's already answered that can be scanned. There is a question. Did I hear there is a history of our prior prompts?
Yes. There is a complete audit trail of every question the AI asked and the human's answer and response, the decisioning, all of the underlying source documentation that was evaluated. It all becomes part of the audit record.
And a question about denied party screening.
Oh, yeah. So we currently do not have a native restricted party screening capability. What we do have via API is, again, if you have a restricted party screening engine tool that you use, GTS, E2Open, S&P, Descartes, whomever, we can pull in those hits and we could use our AI to help disposition those hits. And we think that we can reduce the amount of human time and effort dispositioning and adjudicating soft hits by over 50%. So that is something that we are piloting, and we'd love to talk to you more about that.
Okay, a couple more questions. Corporate compliance oversight for subsidiary activities and auditing.
Post-entry reviews. We're going to also be, just as we showed you the trade sheet, which is an Excel sheet, on steroids for trade compliance. We're configuring trade sheet to do like post-entry reviews and compliance. And so that's another great application for AI. Maybe when we do our next webinar with you, we'll be able to show you that.
Yeah. There's also a question about country of origin determination, which we talked about a little bit earlier, but if you wanted to just, focus in on that.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So we already, if it's preferential origin, we got that nailed. Sabrina showed you free trade agreement for Jordan. We support all free trade agreements for all products. So preferential origin, we got. If it's not non-preferential origin, then it gets a little tricky, just as it would for a human. But because we do rely on rulings, and there have been quite a bit of rulings since 301 came out, we can help on origin determinations that are non-preferential based on some of the authorities in those rulings. Some would argue are controversial in the first place, but nevertheless, the answer is we think we can definitely help speed up those non-preferential origin
Great. Well, I really appreciate the timely assistance from Leslie and Sabrina and others, Todd, including yourself, that have chimed in on some of the questions, because they were coming in pretty fast there.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of questions, as I had predicted. We do have another one here that says, let's see, question about conducting audits on historical items. So this would be like if you wanted to, start using KYG, but you need to look backwards to conduct audits.
Yeah.
You could upload that information and be able to do that.
Correct. We would bulk upload your product information, your item master, and your historical determinations, and then we could run them through the trade sheet that Sabrina showed you, and it would look at what the classification is coming into the system, and then point out differences.
There's also a couple of record keeping questions. Can KYG create PDF files for export classification analysis, license exceptions, that type of stuff?
I'm sorry, can it produce
create
PDF?
PDFs for export classification analysis?
Yeah.
License exceptions.
Yeah, we didn't show that, and we should have, but I think if the question is, can we produce like a report that would show how we arrived at a classification, whether it's HS or export? And the answer is yes.
And this is an interesting question from Michael. So we talked about before how you would have a history of your own prompts, but what about process questions used by subsidiaries to determine classification? So if you are, if you are the benevolent overlord and you have some different regions that are working independently under you, would you still be able to view their activities from a compliance perspective?
Yeah, it just depends on how you would want to configure the system to work. But we have clients that have multiple divisions and subsidiaries, and it all really depends on the permissions and how we configure the instance for your organization to give you those capabilities.
Right. Customizable. Everybody needs that.
Mm-hmm. It's highly configurable without needing, I mean, a lot of the configuration can be done by like an admin. It doesn't have to be like an IT ABAP programmer, to do a lot of this stuff.
All right. Well, the flow of questions has finally slowed down. Thank goodness I can stop sweating. They have survived. But I do want to remind everybody that's registered for the webinar. You will be able to review it if you want to listen to the whole thing and see it live for up to 60 days. And ICPA will also share the deck with you. So you'll have this link for the personalized demo or this QR code, and you'll be able to access that. And then additionally, all of the questions that were asked here will be shared with KYG, so they can respond to that. I don't know if they want to create an ICPA FAQ, but they can do that.
Yeah, and just any questions, reach out to any of us, or Leslie at kyg.ai is her email, and we'd be more than happy to hop on a call and answer your questions.
We do have one quick question that you can probably answer. What format are the CTPAT solicitations in?
Well, they would be via, ideally, the supplier would receive an email directly from you via the platform with a link back to the platform where they could answer or fill out an online web form, or they could upload information. It's really up to you.
So choose your own adventure, as I say. All right. Well, with that, I do notice our participants are starting to drop off. So I think we've come to the end. I want to thank everybody, all the ICPA members, for registering and showing up to learn new stuff. And I want to thank the entire KYG team for showing up in force and presenting all of this great material, and also helping with some of the questions. I have the feeling that you're going to get a lot of outreach from this, from all of these really interesting people who asked compelling and focused questions. So best of luck to everyone.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Hope to hear from you soon.